pretty late at night, but I was way too excited to film this video to wait till tomorrow. So I started filming in my room, but I was like, nah, I gotta still keep it professional. So today I'm just gonna talk about like my faith and how it's grown and where it's been. And I didn't think I'd make this video for a while because I still have a long ways to go in faith. And also, I don't want to tell my testimony like how I think it should sound. I just want to like authentically like state like what has been happening in my heart, and it's been such a personal thing between me and God that I don't think even my closest friends and family like know the entirety of the story. Okay, I'm just gonna start from the very beginning, the day I was born. As far back as I can remember, I always had this like subtle hunger for God. It never came from something like a church camp or something where I'm like, oh, maybe this is something I should be pursuing. It was just always this inner desire inside of me. Even back in the days of preschool where all I could picture of God was like a cartoon guy with like a beard, I found myself thinking about God a lot. And in second grade-ish, I like started like trying to read the Bible because it just interested me. Fun fact, I've also just recently found my Bible from second grade, and when I say I read my Bible in second grade, I did not want to make myself sound like a child genius here or anything, because here's just, I'd highlight literally whole chapters for stuff. I probably didn't even read it, to be honest. I'm probably like, ooh, Jonah, that name sounds cool. Let me just highlight this whole chapter. And it was just all stemming from this inner desire I had to know God. But that desire was about to just go off into the deep end, because as contradictory as this is to everything I just said, I was also born with a really skeptical mind. These questions started piling up and up and up, and I wasn't getting any answers until like about 5th or 6th grade. My faith in God totally broke. And I actually ended up declaring myself agnostic. And I think the breaking point for my faith was an adult figure that was like really influential to me at the time. He showed me like these documentaries about evolution and everything, and basically told me that Christianity was wrong. And I don't know why I like immediately believed him. For some reason I'm like, oh, he has all the answers. I don't know. The same person also believed in that aliens built the pyramids and reincarnation and all that stuff, so I don't even know. But subconsciously, like, I never stopped searching for answers though. By somewhere like 6th grade, 7th grade, I've read a lot of the Quran. I've read the whole entire Bible. I really had like no more desire left for God. And I also spent a lot of time online like looking at like atheistic reasoning videos and stuff. And somewhere during that time, an apologetic series came up that I started watching. It was called Creatures That Defy Evolution by Dr. Job Martin. I also realized strongly during that time that Christianity wasn't absent of reason like I first thought it was. Then after that time in my life, I started going through really hard times, and God kind of used that in my life to rekindle my desire for Him. But at that time, I didn't realize that I can't find God within my mind, but I had to seek Him through my heart. The greatest evil of religion is trying to achieve righteousness apart from God, and that's what I was doing. I was not having a relation or not pursuing a relationship with God, but I was pursuing righteousness on my own strength, which is completely impossible and will only drive you crazy. And I think during this time it was like worshiping God really from a distance, because I was so ashamed of just myself and sin I was living in, that I desired like a friendship and everything with God, but I felt like I couldn't help it. I just felt like it would be more of a burden to God if I were to like pursue that. I don't know why. And for a long time, my Christianity just went up and down, and sometimes I felt really close to God and I'd have a clear conscience, and sometimes I was really distant from God, and it was just, my Christianity like felt like a struggle. A time with God felt like more of a checklist type thing. Usually, most of the time, it was just like, okay, check, read a Bible verse, check, listen to some Christian music today. You know, it was not like an authentic relationship with Him. I had a lot of confusion as to like why I saw around me like the Christian faith was being taken so casually. And I did love God. I wasn't a false Christian or anything like that during this time. I was just a baby Christian, basically, like an infant in my faith, a carnal Christian. And one thing I was really starting to desire around this time was Christian fellowship. I started entering into this season of my life where it was just a huge sense of loneliness, but it wasn't anything I could justify at the time. I was really confused by it because I had so many great friends and friends that I'd have deep conversations with and laugh with all the time. And so I was very confused by it. Desiring a relationship, like more than a friendship, more than a romantic relationship, but I didn't match that up with God at the time. God had actually planted that desire in my heart to get to know Him more personally as a person rather than a subject matter. I think I associated this feeling of loneliness with a lack of Christian fellowship. So at the time there was this Christian event for people my age coming up and I was so excited. I was praying about it a lot and everything like that, but I think while I was there I got like a comment or something like, whoa, you take this Christian thing a little too seriously, or something like that. And I remember I got in the car afterwards and I started like sobbing and sobbing, and my mom was like, what's wrong? And I was just like, I couldn't tell her. I couldn't even tell myself what was wrong. I didn't even know what I was crying about. And at the time I kind of felt like God had like abandoned me or something. Spoiler, He didn't. But God later showed me a passage of why I was feeling all those things, and it's from A.W. Tozer. It's titled "The Saint Must Walk Alone." I can link it down below, and it gives examples from the Bible of how like all like the people God used in the Old and New Testament, the Bible, basically had to go through a time of just them and God, basically.
And I'm actually just going to read the passage that God showed me real quick because it's maybe something that some of you guys are experiencing. So, okay, I'm just going to dig right into it. Okay. The pain of loneliness arises from the constitution of our nature. God made us for each other. The desire for human companionship is completely natural and right. The loneliness of a Christian results from his walk with God in an ungodly world, a walk that must often take him away from the fellowship of good Christians as well as from that of the ungenerated world. His God-given instincts cry out for companionship of others of his kind, others who can understand his longings, his aspirations, his absorption in the love of Christ, and because there are so few who share his experiences, he is forced to walk alone. The man who passed into the divine presence of an actual inner experience will not find many who understand him. A certain amount of social fellowship will of course be as he mingles with other religious persons in the regular activities of the church, but the spiritual fellowship will be hard to find. But he should not expect things to be otherwise. After all, he is a stranger and a pilgrim, and the journey he takes is not on his feet but in his heart. He walks with God in the garden of his own soul land, but who can walk with him? It is this very loneliness that throws him back upon God. His inability to find human companionship drives him to seek in God what he can find nowhere else. Two things that remain to be said is that the lonely man whom we speak is not a haughty man. He is likely to feel that he is the least of all men and sure to blame himself for his loneliness. But he wants to open his heart to some like-minded soul who will understand him. But the spiritual climate around him does not encourage it, so he remains silent and tells his griefs only to God. So God plants that desire in us. It's a very good thing because it shows us how to like go to God for our problems and depend solely on God instead of other human relationships.
Okay, next part of the story. This might be a little bit surprising because it was not too long ago. This was towards the end of my freshman year. I went through my last and final wave of doubt, but during this time I came face to face with the fact that I can absolutely not live without God. I was miserable, like spiritually miserable. I forgot how to like function as a human being. The reality just hit me that I cannot possibly live without God. And coming face to face with this reality and realizing how completely miserable without God I was, I told God, Lord, if there is a 1% chance that you exist, even a 1% chance, here's my life, take it. I surrender the need to know all the answers. I give you my life. I'll surrender everything, even if there's just the 1% chance. From there, that was the point where I no longer even made him a top priority in life, but my life in general, and realized I don't even desire this world or even the heaven or the abundant life he offers. I just desire God and God alone. And from that point on, when I realized no matter what, I was going to seek him with everything I have in me, I will no longer, I can say with confidence right now, will no longer have doubts again, because he has revealed himself to me in ways like I don't even believe he's real. I know he's real, because I would be a complete idiot if I went back to having doubts because of the ways he has revealed himself. I really want to like make this point clear and read this verse to you, John 7:17. Okay. If anyone chooses to do God's will, he will find out whether my teaching comes from God or whether I speak from my own. And the Bible talks about how like God will show himself to you if you seek him and do his will. And so how you know that, they say you can never know the answer to life. You do not know Christianity is real from apologetics and theology, even though I'm very passionate about that. That is not, you will still find yourself wrapped in doubt if you get all your faith from that. How you know that God is real with it, absolutely not a shadow of a doubt, is by seeking him, and eventually in his time he will reveal himself to you. Sorry to be all preachy, but like I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. To realize this, you really have to come to a state of humility. Like, for example, back then I don't even know what I was thinking I could find the answer to the universe. Who am I to I was just thinking about this in the car today, like how would I think I even had the capability to possess the ability to find the answer to the universe? Like, that is something only God could reveal to me by opening my eyes to the truth. And I still have a long ways to go in my faith. Like, I feel like this is still the beginning of me stepping into a deeper relationship with God. And I also learned more and more about obedience and experiencing him through obedience. He has been slowly changing me from the inside out, and it's been like changes that I have not tried to like force upon myself, but only by abiding in Christ that has produced within me. I can't even express this enough to you guys that it's only stuff that God has done through me, because without him I am weak. I've tried on my own strength before. It does not work, okay? It does not. Like, I can't even express to you like what a weak person I am without God. And so I want to make the point clear that there's nothing in me doing these things. That is all God is producing in me from abiding in him. And another thing that's like totally radically changed from like last year is just my quality of time spending with God in general. Like, I remember saying like in the beginning of the video, like how my time with God used to be like a checklist, like listen to a Christian song, read a Bible verse, all that. But now, honestly, there's some days during the summer where I just spent all day spending time with God, and it was just like a refreshment to the soul. My prayer time and my Bible time with God is like something I like look forward to. Like, sometimes I'm at school, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get home because then I'll get to talk to God and everything like that. Like, I honestly can say right now that God is my best friend, and that like makes me want to cry, because that is something like I've always like wanted to say. I always get this like burning desire for other people to know this, how amazing and present he can be in your life. Nothing is more heartbreaking to me than people who do not know this joy. And like, for example, like a few years ago I used to be the hugest fan of Ariana Grande that you could ever imagine. My absolute top goal for my life was to meet Ariana. Like, I thought that was gonna be the thing where it would make me happy for the rest of my life, and I did. I eventually ended up meeting her, and it was something I looked forward to for so many years before like I really like knew God. Like, the time of meeting her was the happiest time of my life. I was crying tears of like joy. I was actually crying, and how the concert was so fun. And why I'm bringing that up is because that, from earthly experiences, was probably like the best time of my life, like the time I was happiest. But guys, every single night, or almost every single night, I experienced greater joy than I felt on that day meeting Ariana, which I thought was the goal for my entire life. When you read these stories of people that have deeper connections with Christ, like Michael Criswell's story, or A.W. Tozer, or Andrew Murray, or lots of people like that, you realize that they're experiencing a whole nother level of Christianity than you see in the world today usually. And you can live that. It's not just for them. You can live that level of faith. And God has given me so many like revelations that I don't think I have the ability to express yet. I've tried putting a lot of them into words, but I can't. I'll one day be able to, but it's frustrating because I just can't put any of this stuff into words. But I just want to share all this to just encourage you guys to just keep seeking God with everything you have. Show obedience to Him through His strength. Depend on Him and just establish that relationship with Him and put it first in your life and seek Him, because it is the most worth it thing you could ever have. And before it gets too long, I'm just gonna end this video. Kept to this point, thank you for watching, and it is really late. So thank you so much for watching, and yeah, just keep seeking God.